All right, everybody, it is the top of the hour. We're going to jump right into this. I don't anticipate this taking very much time today. We're going to do a quick overview of the security training portal and just kind of go over some suggestions on how to get this process started. So hopefully everybody can hear me okay, can see the screen okay. If you're having any issues, or if by chance I'm showing the wrong screen or something like that, feel free to throw that into the comments and I'll keep my eye there. And I say that I better get that screen open so that I can see the chat. Okay, security awareness training, it starts at the top, and I can't emphasize that enough. We have to be on our A game if we expect our people to take this stuff seriously. So today we are going to talk about getting ourselves trained. I know some of you on this webinar have already done that, some have not, so we're just going to assume, take this from the very beginning. So first thing I want to point out is when you go through the training for the first time, or if it's been a while, I would suggest doing it again anyways, specifically so that you can do these 4 things right here. Make notes about anything that stands out for, what's important for you personally, what's important for your staff to know, what in your organization, what do you find in the security training that you want to make sure that they know and understand. And then finally, if you have any questions or suggestions for us as we continue to build out this program, I'm definitely interested in any feedback that you can give me. I'm around this stuff all day. What makes sense to me may or may not make sense to you. So please give me any kind of feedback that comes up for you. The other thing, the reason that I want you to take notes as you're going through the training yourself is because the quiz at the end of the training is almost rhetorical. For those of you that have taken it, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. it's not designed to have people fail for sure. It really is more just designed to emphasize certain points and to make sure that they're reading, again, what they may or may not have picked up in the training. So where you have that information at hand, it'll help you, well, first of all, give that feedback to us so that we can make modifications if we need to, but you may need to emphasize that to your staff on a one-on-one basis. And then the last point that I'll make that's not in the bullets here is that as you're putting together your policies, your bring your own device policy, your acceptable use policy, and we'll get into that in future sessions. But as you're putting those documents together, we give you templates, but these are just generic templates that may be a good fit for businesses in general, but you want to be able to customize those and really speak to the things that matter in your organization. So make sure you take good notes when you're going through your own training. When you first signed up, you should have received 3 welcome emails. And let's see if I can get those to show up on top of the presentation here. The first one's pretty generic. Okay, good. Just making sure that's showing. You'll get this email. It just says that we've set you up in the portal. You can largely ignore that and delete it. The ones that are coming have all the information in them. The second email that you'll get is for setting up the manager's account. And all the instructions are in here. We're going to walk through it today. I will say that the most important piece of information is right here. It's this code. You'll need that code when you're setting up your own account if you haven't done so already. This is not for your employees. It's just for you as a manager on this account. And then the third email that you will have received is the one that you can forward directly to your employees, any of your staff that you feel need to be trained. Quick note on that, I know that in some organizations, whether you're our client or you've got another IT provider, you've got your employees locked down really well with technology already, through firewalls, through all kinds of things that we can do behind the scenes. We put a lot of measures into place to protect people from making mistakes, but my personal recommendation is if you have employees that are touching computers, have them do the training for 2 reasons. One, because an uninformed employee can, not intentionally, I guess they could intentionally, but it's not difficult for them to accidentally click something or do something that can completely wipe out or undo or bypass all the security measures that we have in place. That's why we're doing this training and emphasizing this so heavily, because an uneducated user can undo all of our security measures. So I highly recommend putting everybody through the training. And the second reason that I recommend everybody does this is to start to create a security-minded culture in your organization. If you show that you're doing this yourself, you're going through the training. By the way, I've gone through this training myself. I have my own certificate that I printed out. We'll talk about those in a minute. I make all of my employees, and we're around this all day, every day, and I make everybody go through this training. So by you doing this as a leader, and then by encouraging or perhaps enforcing all of your employees to do it, you're setting that message that you're taking this seriously. I will say that some of the training may not apply directly depending on what technology, security measures you have in place. But again, my personal recommendation is that everybody goes through the training. So again, this code is for the employees. You'll forward this email directly to them. The instructions are here. You can follow them line by line. They're, again, they're in my mind, they're pretty clear instructions, but I'm always open for feedback. Sometimes what makes sense to me doesn't make sense to anybody else. So I am guilty of that. So the emails you should have, if you do not have these emails, let me know. My contact information is at the end of the presentation. You can look us up, you can email, you can call or whatever, but make sure that you've got this information if you haven't received it already. So what we're going to do right now is a live demo. I don't like live demos, but it was the only way that I could really demonstrate this. What I had to do is create a new account that I hadn't logged into yet. So we're going to go through it. I'm going to go back to those emails that I just showed you, and we're going to walk through setting this up as a manager, what you should do personally. So back to the manager's account, it'll be up in the subject line, the manager's account. And here's just a little welcome thing. The instructions are coming in a separate email for your employees, so don't send this one to them. I mean, this isn't a big deal if they have secure or manager's access. It's just there's reports and stuff on here that they don't need. So, but anyways, the first thing you have to do is create an account on the website. So you'll click this link, which will open up the portal. And now what I gotta not do is log in with my normal. Let's see, just see, and this is the thing with these live demos. I'm not following my own instructions right here. So you click on that link and then you click the new user button underneath the login. I'm so used to just logging in that I jumped straight to that. So if I were to try to log in here, it wouldn't work because that account doesn't exist. So we're gonna go to new user. And here's the registration code that's critical. It's critical because it flags everybody as being a member of your organization. So we come back, we grab this code, copy and paste, and we'll drop that in here. And let me double check that I got the managers. Good. All right, so I've got to punch in my email, and I created kind of a dummy email just for the purposes of this demo. We will create a password. And then I'm just going to make again, not a real account here. This information isn't super critical. I'm not going to bother with that. Feel free to put your information in there, but I'm not going to do that right now. So you've got the account created. Now what would be super cool is if it logged you in, but it doesn't. So it brings you right back to the login screen. And you have to put that information in again, a little bit of double entry here. I gotta remember what I typed in the first time. Okay, so here we are. And by the way, I use a password manager. If you guys don't use those, I highly recommend it. The training talks about it a little bit. At some point, I'm going to put together a training specifically on password managers. I haven't done it yet, but that's coming here in the next probably month or two. I'll get that taken care of. What I love about it is when you log into a new website, you just hit that button and it'll remember your password for you so that you can put in, you don't have to use the same password over and over. In fact, what I didn't show you, and I should have, is that this will generate passwords for you as well. Unique, very secure passwords, which is what I would normally do if I was doing something other than a demo account like this one. So I'm going to say not now because I don't need that saved in this case, but normally I would save that information. So the first thing that you're going to see when you log in is a video, and it really is just kind of a commercial and advertisement for the product that we're already using. So I would recommend you watch it, but I've seen it and we're not going to do it now. So I'm going to say get rid of this, show at startup, and then we're going to just jump right in here. And here's what you'll see when you first log in. You have 0 employees trained because we haven't even set them up yet. But what's nice is you'll have this dashboard available so that you can keep track of who's gone through the training, who's done the tests, and you know, where everybody's at. There are 2 versions, and we're heavily promoting the free version of the software. There's another add-on that gives us some additional information that we will talk about in future videos. But right now, we're just getting the basics set up. So when you first log in, you see the management portal, which is your report on who's done what. To go and do your own personal training, you actually have to come in, and this is all in the email. Let's go back and make sure I'm following my own instructions here. Fill out the information, and you're ready to log in. You have to go back to the link, which I did. It redirected us right back there. We put in our username and password, and then we watch the overview video. Now, when we want to do our own training, we have to go down to the bottom and click switch to employee view. So that's what I was about to do down here. And because this portal is set up mostly to manage your company, to do your own training, it's kind of buried down at the bottom. But here it is, switch to employee view. Real quick though, you can see that you've got some training reports that you can run. You have dark web breach assessment. We're not going to go into this today. That'll be a future video, but we are, we've integrated the dark web right into this training portal, which is really nice. And you can set up employees yourself if you want. The way I've done the emails is to have them set themselves up, but if you prefer, you could actually come in here and you can set up new employees right here using this. But if I'm being honest, I'm kind of lazy and I want people to do it themselves. So I just sent that email so that you could just blast that off to everybody. Lazy might be the wrong word. I'm really trying to keep this as simple as possible to get as many people to implement this as humanly possible. So back to the screen that we were at, you would do switch to employee view, and here you are. Your security training starts right here. We've got this cute little graphic. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You take the class, you run the quiz, and you print your certificate. I'll probably come back to this. I'll probably say it multiple times, but my recommendation is you have every employee go through this. You have everybody print the certificate, and that goes in their file under with the rest of your HR documentation. I'm a big fan of documenting everything. Put this in your files. If you do get audited for any purpose, if you're a medical associate, if you're a doctor's office, sorry, my brain's shutting down, and you get some sort of a HIPAA audit or anything like that, the more you've got documented, the better you are. So if you can pull out that you know your HR files and show that everybody's been through this training, that goes a long way in fending off these government officials who are only here to help as they run in and audit your entire organization. So document everything. And we're going to be talking a lot about documentation in future trainings. Today, we are just getting on the portal. We're going through the security awareness. So you click the link. Now here's the actual training session, and I apologize because there's so many clicks. I wish this was easier to get to, but you've got to go several clicks deep to get to the actual training, which is why I put together that
Welcome
email.
To Employee Security Awareness.
So we're not going to go through this right now, but you can see there's short little videos. You've got the agenda over here on the side, and it runs you through various topics. You'll click next after each one, and then when you're finished, it'll invite you to take the quiz. So we're going to exit out of this. There's the optional case studies. They're not required for the test, but I highly recommend them. Learning about this stuff is one thing, but when you see it in action, when you see people who have been breached and you can learn from their mistakes, in my opinion, there's no better way of preventing this than seeing real world scenarios. So with the training complete, you'll come in here, you'll take the quiz. Again, this is not a difficult quiz. In fact, it still thinks I guess it's got me, because I went through this before just as I was getting ready for the presentation today, so it won't let me retake it. But the quiz is not complicated at all. In fact, I wish it was a little bit more in depth. So once a quiz is complete, you'll print your certificate. You can feel free to frame it if you'd like. I just like to see it in the HR files for everybody. So that's that. Now let's come back here and make sure I'm not off track. The manager set up your training. Okay, good. Then the next step, and I would say go through it yourself before you invite your employees. That's my personal preference, because that way when you're talking to them about it, you're speaking from a place of experience. You've already set the example. It's just my take. You can blast it out to everybody first if you want, but I prefer to go through it myself and then invite the employees. So nothing to see here on the slideshow, but let's go back in through the setup for our staff. This is what you would have forwarded to them. You've got the code here. So we're going to copy and paste this one now. We're going to hit the link. And it's the same process. They will come in, they will set up a new user. They'll put in their registration code here. They will say, put in their own email address. And I just make these up, by the way. Sample employee. I don't want to have to type that twice. And here's where I was going to show you before, where we can generate passwords using LastPass. I'll go ahead and do that this time. And it tells you right now we can add that person in there. I'm not going to because I don't need that saved, because this is all just going to be deleted when I'm done. Their first name, we did John Doe, so we'll do Jane Doe this time around, and we'll go ahead and submit this. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to add that because I didn't copy that password. So, see the live demo. Remember when I said what could go wrong? What we've got here now is because I'm not closing out, logging out and closing out. It worked, it created the account, but it already has me logged in. So when an employee comes in to actually do this, it would kick them back out to this screen. And now, because I saved that one, I have the email and password already in the system. I don't have to remember those. I highly recommend these password managers. So Jane Doe is in the system, and it's the exact same thing, but it's the employee view instead of the manager's view. They'll watch this video. I encourage everybody to watch it. They'll hit the arrow. And one thing I'm kind of ignoring is this little help thing that's bumping up that will tell us, well, they don't have anything for the employees. On the manager view, there's some videos and stuff that you can use if interested. Their screen's a little bit more simple, but same process. They look down here, they find the training link, they take the training, they take the quiz, they print the certificate, and they hand it in to you, and it goes in their file. So not much to talk about there. So once this is all set up and done, the real question or the problem that comes into play as we're trying to get people to go through this is that there is so much resistance. And I can sit here and theorize on why that is. We get resistance from the top to the bottom, by the way. I was presenting this product to the IT manager of a city government. I won't say which city. I won't out them like that. But this IT manager was frustrated as he was telling me that his CFO, I believe it was refusing to allow him to provide cybersecurity training to the city employees. And I said, well, why? Is it a budget issue? Because I was going to offer him this free training, which I did offer him. And he said, no, it's not a budget issue. They just won't let me do it. And I said, why? And he said, I have no idea. So that kind of blew my mind. I'd love to get a hold of that CFO just to be able to probe and ask my own questions and see if I could figure out what was going on in their mind. This is such a critical, important part of protecting an organization, is properly training your people. But for whatever reason, we have a mindset in our society where there's just a ton of resistance. Maybe it's that we're overloaded. We already have so much on our plates. We don't want to mess with it as managers. And as employees, we're trying to keep everybody happy. We don't want to have one more thing that we've got to do. But for whatever the reason is, we get all kinds of resistance, which, by the way, is why we quit trying to sell this product and we're just giving it away. I spend a ton of my time these days just promoting this free training, trying to get people to go through this. So there's going to be resistance. You're on this webinar. You're working with us already to do this, so I know that we've got some amount of buy-in from you, but you're definitely going to find resistance as you start rolling this out to your employees. So that brings up the question, what do you do? Are we going to use the stick or the carrot? And my recommendation always is start by playing nice. You could offer, a company party. Once everybody's trained, we're going to, whatever, take them to a ball game. I don't know, have an after hours pizza party or whatever the case is, something to try to get some amount of buy-in that way. You could do it on an individual basis where you give them a $5 or $10 Starbucks gift card. And I know it's money, no matter what you do, this is another expense, but I'm just telling you that getting your people trained is a very, very wise investment in your organization. Spend a little bit of money if you have to, because a breach or trying to recover from data loss or whatever happens, when we're hit with cybercrime is way more expensive than getting people to go through this training and preventing it from the beginning. And finally, one thing that people respond to quite well is public recognition. So you could have some sort of a contest within your organization. The first one to go through the training gets something, the second one gets something else, or just, we have a company meeting once a week, and that's a place where we have metrics that we track. And so it might be a time to say, hey, we have 3 out of 10 people trained, or 5 out of 20 people trained, or whatever, and name them by name, or some way try to motivate people to go through and do this training. You can make a game out of it, you can make it fun, you can make it rewarding. But at some point, you have to let them know that you mean business. I love the line, beatings will continue until morale improves. You can't ever start here, but you do have to let them know that this is serious. And we start with the appreciation, but they have to understand this is not optional. And I guess that's the next slide. I was going to get ahead of myself. Ways that you can kind of sell it to them and help them understand why it's important is that by protecting the business, while they may not have a personal, vested interest in that, they could or they should, because by protecting the business, they're protecting their own job. A lot of times when an organization gets breached, if it's bad enough, I've seen companies shut down over it, or at least take a huge hit in revenues where they have to lay people off. It's messy. This is really, really ugly if something bad happens. So by protecting the business and taking an interest in this individually, they are actually helping themselves. So I would make that point to them. Also, they're protecting their clients or your patients, whichever the case may be. And usually as humans, we have some amount of pride in our work. So it's a good idea to just kind of fluff their ego a little bit, tell them how important they are to your patients, to your clients, and let them know that it's their responsibility to help out the people who are trusting you with their data and paying your wages, quite frankly. So this is a way of giving back to them. And then finally, by not participating, the analogy that I would use is that this is like leaving the door unlocked when you go home for the evening or for the weekend. If we aren't covering all of the security gaps, we're inviting people in. We're just playing a game of Russian roulette here. So give them that analogy. Would you walk out the door and intentionally leave the door unlocked and just trust that nobody's going to walk through it and steal stuff or rough the place up? None of us would do that. I mean, an accident is one thing to leave a door unlocked, but none of us would intentionally leave a door unlocked. And by not participating in this, that's effectively what's going on. We're intentionally leaving this door unlocked for the criminals to walk right through and do whatever they're going to do. Finally, if we can't get people by playing nice and throwing parties and whatever else, and then getting a little bit more stern with them, and they still just aren't going to participate, it is time to play for keeps here. And I would just start hiring their replacement. Warn them, do the 3-strike rule, whatever you want to do, but at some point it's time to put a help wanted ad out and start interviewing people. And again, we can use this analogy of leaving the door unlocked. And now I'm talking to you though as a manager, and I really want, while I'm beating up on the employee before, would you leave the door unlocked if it was your responsibility to lock up? Now I'm talking to managers of organizations. Would you allow your employees to go home in the evening and the weekends and not lock the door? As I've had it happen at my business. I've come in the morning and had the door unlocked, and it sent me to the moon. I guess that's why I'm using this example. Fortunately, nothing happened, but that can become a fireable offense, or it should. So would you overlook that? Would you be patient and try to give them time to get used to locking the door or whatever else? You wouldn't listen to excuses. The door has to be locked. So I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but I really want to emphasize how important it is to make sure that this training gets put into place. Excuse me. So a final note, my recommendation, my parting recommendation here is to hold yourself accountable to implementing the employee training. Do it first yourself. And we'll be doing monthly webinars to coach you through the process of implementing this, and we'll help as much as we can. But of course, most of this has to be done behind the scenes. And so my recommendation is to set a timeline for yourself. You know, when do you want to see all of your people trained? And really, it's the sooner the better, obviously. One of my favorite sayings is you cannot get unhacked. Once something happens, you know, it's like a fire. You build a burning down, you can rebuild it, but you can't undo it. So when it's too late, it is too late. So don't give yourself too much time here. Get this implemented just as soon as humanly possible. A month, I think that's reasonable. You know, some organizations are not going to be able to get it done that fast. So maybe within a quarter, but I wouldn't stretch it out any farther than that. I would want everybody trained and certified at worst case within 3 months from today. So set that personal commitment, put it on a calendar, and then hold yourselves accountable to that. So that's what I've got for today. Like I said, this is a relatively quick one. We didn't get into too much meat, but we got started, got you into the portal. Hopefully gave you some good ideas on how to get your employees motivated. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to call me directly, send me an email. This is kind of consuming my life these days. This is about all I'm doing, so I'm open. Shoot me your information, your questions. And also, like I said before, as we continue to build this program out and try to make it better and better, I need all the feedback I can get. So please feel free to blow up my email, blow up my phone, whatever, give me the information, and we'll keep working together to fight this problem that is only getting worse and worse. Every single day I see a new headline of somebody getting breached, ransomware attacking you know, airports and banks and schools, and it drives me crazy. So we do not have time to play around with this. So I hope this was informative. I appreciate you for attending, taking time out of your schedule and being here. And one more time, I'm just going to say, please give me all of the feedback that you have as we work together to fight this problem. Until next time, guys, thanks for attending. We'll see you later.